Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. Today I want to present you about my presentation on my English class in semester 1 for a final exam. Today I want to talk about the ethics of the genome editing in biological and moral perspective. So before we jump into the topics, let me introduce myself first. My name is Khayru Diaz Ravikhasyah Untoro from a Science and Technology faculty and from a biology major, and my student number was 2500170180. So let's jump to the explanations. So before that, we're gonna talk about why should we talk about the genome editing in the first place. So the genome editing has become an important topic due to a rapid advance in biology and medicine. Science today able to study and interact with the human genes in order to improve humans' health. So guys, actually, every humans that live in the planet Earth actually have some diseases that can be cured by drug or surgery. Some of it is, in the mutations of the genes. So by learning about the genes or genome editing, we can actually cure this kind of diseases to make humans have more good in life. So let's talk about it first. What is genetics? Genetics was a branch of biology that studied genes. This was actually important. Genetics, everything that from a genome editing was come from this genetics, a branch of biology that studies genes, hereditary variations, and the living organism. It explains how an biological traits are passed from the parents to their children. So this basically, genetics is actually a branch of biology that's actually studying about this kind of gene situations that can involve into genomes editing. And then, what are a genome and a gene? For example, genome is a complete set of genetic information, and then the genes is actually a segment of DNA that carries instructions for the body's growth, develop, and functioning. The things about it is, guys, genome is actually all the structures, okay? It's all the structures that literally tells what colors eye that we got, what skin tone that we got, how tall that we can be lived, and then genes is actually the part of it. It's the part of the structure. Every part like the eye color is actually genes, but all of it, genes, it combines itself to a singular functioning body called genome. And that's why every single human was different. And that's why every single human was unique. A human's uniqueness is the real result of a genetic variations. It's make a human diversity. We can say the things about it is in this picture. We can say that every single human has their own uniqueness. They got a different skin color, they got different hair, they got different eyes. Many of them was different, but yet they are connected together. And then it's normal if we have a difference, even though we are a cousin or sibling. It's because of the genetics. Then, because the genetics was actually our self-divisions, sometimes genetics was imperfect. I would not say this can be hard, but sometimes the cell divisions on the mother's womb, it's not perfectly made. For example, we can see like some of it got a Down syndrome. This is actually one of a genetics diseases, or maybe like cripples and something more. And the things about it is, even though this is imperfect, this make us understand that genetics is actually growth by mutations, maybe some of a mutations also, and then some of it was actually non-genetics for material, or like some diseases that actually combine and be error. Let's continue. Then we are jumping to the topic of this presentation is genome editing. Genome editing was revolutionary, a scientific method that acts like a search and replace function for a code of life. Every living human is built based on instructions found in DNA. Okay guys, so the things about it is DNA was actually like a blueprint for our body actually growth. They decided, like what I say, it's a gene also. DNA is a part of genes. So genes actually tell us about ourselves, like skin color, like the eye color, the hair. It's actually told by the genes. And the things about it is, these technologies allow a science to go into the code to make precise change by adding or removing or altering inherited disease and disable a gene that is causing a harm. In this theory of genome editing was possible can cure some of genetics diseases such as HIV, Down syndrome, cancer, and many genetic diseases. So, what is the potentials of this genome editing? So, the genome editing offers a promising possibilities in the medicines. Okay, it's kind of can change how can you look, how can you present, so you're not in quote-unquote error, and we say that. But it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Trust me. Being different, it's not a bad thing. It's just how you present in the genetics field. And because of this potential of medical benefits, we can actually remove some of the error or like some of the mutation genes so we can live normally. But because we're human, because we're greedy, because we are insatiable, because there are limitless ambition, because of the pride, human-made genome editing technology become more advanced. Its use may expand beyond a medical. So what is this actually? And necessarily to our personal preferences. This is a created important technical questions. Should a genome editing to be limited by preventing diseases, or actually it should also to be used as select or enhance the human traits? This is the question. This is the problem that we face. It's not about the disease anymore. It's about the preferences. It's about the appearance. It's about the human traits. Let's continue. So what's actually happened here? Genome editing, it becomes an ethical problem when a purpose of shift from a treating disease to a designing human traits. Yes, in this world, we already have a baby in the tub, and not an actual in the mother womb. They come up in the tub like from a technology to grow an actual baby. So, in a medical context, genome editing is aimed to correctly harmful genetic mutations. Like I said before, the things about the editing gene was actually for removing the errors and replace it with a healthy genes. But at this point, a child is no longer treated as a person with inherited concern because human life became something that can be customized. Yes, guys. In this era of 2026, we already can make changes around humans. We can actually edit our son. Like we can actually things about the eye color. We can actually edit it like the things about the intelligence, how they appears on society. We can edit that as parents. And this is non-ethical. This is a problem because when you change something, it's gonna cause something else to be a problem also. So this is the ethical issue that genome editing was crossover at. The ethical issue that arises when the genome editing was affected human identity, concern, and dignity. And our unborn child, which is in the womb or in the tub when we actually want to grow a child, was cannot concern to be a genetic changes. And this modification might be irreversible. There is also concern that genetic enhancement could increase a social inequality and reduce a human value to a physical intellectual traits. This is the main problem about the genome editing. Let's just think about it. When we can actually edit human when they are baby, there are some social inequality. You know, there are a superior human and the dumb human, and then the superior is gonna be when that's just for an example. Let's move out. And then what the ethics have been violated in the process of the genome editing. So there are three that being violated as ethics on this kind of practice in the genome editing that was driven for editing a child to be what we want as the present that we're living. So there are three. One is the religions, and the second was the humanity and law, and the third was the science itself. Let's talk about it a bit more. So I took six the most popular religions that actually preserved in our earth. One is the Islam, Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, Hinduism, and then communism. These six there are some of the verse in their holy books that actually not agree with an editing of the human genes. From all the religions that wasn't even agree at this particular practice, they were acknowledged that variety of human was a God creations. Even in the Judaism, so God created mankind in His own image, and in the image of God He created them. So actually, changes human how human present is actually cross over the God Himself. We actually betray what God made us itself. And it's pretty bad when we think about it. Genetic experiment is to raise a concern about a human assuming control and over a creation. Cross over a God will powers. The second was a humanity and the law. We actually live in a planet of a law, because when there's a law, there's an ethic. Human can be crossed over any bad situations that we can end up with. So there are some of this. For example, like even in the Indonesian law, we actually don't like the clothing's idea of this kind of genome editing. And then from a global rules such as like UNESCO or like the United Nations of Campaign or even a universal declaration of human rights. This is really important because in the Article 1, all human beings are born free and equal dignity and rights. They were actually born naturally. We don't edit it. We don't edit how human actually born are. This is where they're actually getting very wrong.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Kepada segenap sivitas akademika dan pengunjung Universitas Ahmad Dahlan, dalam 10 menit lagi kita akan memasuki waktu sholat asar. Kami menghimbau Bapak Ibu untuk bersiap-siap menuju masjid guna melaksanakan sholat berjamaah. Demikian pun ini disampaikan, semoga kita senantiasa mendapat hidayah dan rahmat dari Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
So let's continue my presentations. So in the science itself, what is actually we cross over the science itself, even though this genome editing was actually invented in science. So the numbering code in 1947, the involvement of cancer science in embryo cannot give cancer. Genetic editing is ethically compromised. Okay, and then the second was the Declaration of Helsinki in the 1964, states that human welfare must always come before interests of a science and society. The thing about it is every single this is a rule of science. We are using this genome editing was cross over the rules of science itself, and it's particularly wrong when you actually want to make a human set in your preferences as a perfect human being. Because every single human was unique in their own. They have different genes, they have different variety, they have a human diversity. Because we can change it, it's make more and less for a diversity to become. Then in the conclusions of these presentations. In the conclusions, genome editing was a powerful scientific tool with a significant medical potential. However, its application must be guided by ethical. This is what the main point that I want to point out in these presentations. Responsibility. While using a genome editing to treat a disease might be justified, using it to design or control how human actually trace and race is a serious moral and ethical concern. Science should aim to improve a human life, not redefine human worth. And that's was my presentation today. Thank you guys for watching and see you guys in the next presentations. Bye!